Hello and good morning. Holly Shields here reporting to you live from 𝐾𝐿 Studio, and you're watching The Early Trade, a show where we share with you a glimpse of the Australian share market opening trade landscape, along with the global and domestic drivers triggering the market momentum. Well, in our first segment of the show today, we'll be looking at how the early morning trades panned out, taking cues from Wall Street action overnight. Then in the last segment, we'll be looking at the prominent newsmakers grabbing the headlines during the early trade hours, as well as movement seen in crypto, crude oil, gold, and the metal indices. Well, first up, the Australian shares opened in the red today after Wall Street ended on a strong note in the previous session, and the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell hinted that economic stimulus may be wound back later this year. The ASX 200 opened 6.20 points lower to 7,482.10 during the opening trade today, according to the latest SPI futures. On Friday last week, the benchmark index fell marginally to 7,488.3 points, and Fortescue and Altium were among the top firms that will release this full-year earnings this morning. And the S&P 500 and tech-heavy Nasdaq finished at record highs after Powell reiterated that Fed Jackson's Hole Symposium on Friday that the central bank would start stimulus tapering at the end of 2021. Powell also cautioned against overreaction to inflation, and markets cheered up his dovish comments as investors anticipated a clear timeline on the stimulus exit. On Wall Street, the S&P 500 finished up 0.88%, while the Dow Jones rose 0.69%, and the Nasdaq Composite gained a very handsome 1.23%. On Friday, new economic data released showed consumer spending rose marginally by 0.3% in July, after increasing 1.1% in the prior month, indicating the economic recovery may be losing momentum. Moving on now to the last leg of our show, let's quickly look at the highlights of the prominent ASX stocks under the spotlight during the early trades. Well, the first company on our list today is Duratec. The national specialist contractor Duratec reported a net profit of $7.1 million in financial year 21, a 45.2% drop. While revenue was down by 4.7%, the slower contract awards, especially in the eastern states due to the pandemic, were the primary reason for the lackluster performance. Moving on now, the largest Australian-owned online book retailer, Booktopia, has widened its loss to $18 million in financial year 21 on revenue of $223.9 million. The company said financial year 2022 started stronger but didn't provide any guidance. Meanwhile, financial services company Cash Converters International swung to profitability in financial year 21, reporting $16.2 million of profit from the loss of $10.5 million in financial year 2020. However, revenue for this year fell 23% to $201.2 million, and the company declared a fully franked final dividend of 14 cents a share. Next up, Australian telecommunications company Aussie Broadband has garnered a revenue of $350.3 million for financial year 21, while EBITDA soared 433% to $19.1 million, beating guidance on both fronts. Total broadband services grew 53% in the financial year 2021 as well. And lastly, mining company Fortescue Metals financial year 21 revenue rose 74%, while net profit more than doubled to $10.3 billion US. Due to a sharp rise in net profit, the company doubled down on its final dividend to $2.11 a share from just $1 a year ago. And looking at the bond yields now, the yield on the benchmark 10-year US Treasury note fell 1.3014% after Powell's remarks, whereas the currency space US dollar futures index fell by 0.39% to 92.7 US. Moving on now, and the crude oil prices increased more than 2% as energy companies began shutting production in the US Gulf of Mexico ahead of a major hurricane expected to hit early next week. Brent futures rose 2.3% to finish at 72.70 US a barrel, while WTI crude rose 2.0% to settle at 68.74. Energy stocks like Woodside Petroleum were in the red during the early trade hours, whereas Santos edged higher during this morning. And looking at the futures and commodities space, gold gained more than 1% as spot gold was up 1.44% over the $18,000 US an ounce mark, while US gold futures rose 1.47% and leading ASX listed gold stocks like St. Barbara were seen in the green during the early trades, whereas Newcrest Mining was also trading higher this morning. And meanwhile, silver increased by 2.23% to 24.075 US an ounce, while copper surged 1.68% to just over 4.3 US. Well, that is all for now on the early morning trades. Holly Shields signing off.